Quick question. How does an empire die and then come back 500 years later to conquer an ocean? Because that is the actual, real history plot of the people who used this as their logo. A tiger. Not a metaphor, an actual angry tiger. Remember him. He does not stay dead. This is the story of the Cholas. Long, long ago, in the deep south of India, a Tamil dynasty called the Cholas ruled along a river. Their greatest ancient king, Karikala, did the single most Chola thing imaginable. He looked at a river and built a giant dam across it.
This river is the Kaveri. It is everything. The water, the rice, the gold. Control the river, control the south.
He was not wrong. For the next 1,000 years, every Chola plan, every Chola problem, and every Chola flex comes back to this one river. And then, the ancient Cholas just stopped. For about 500 years, they are nobodies, minor chiefs. A footnote. The tiger, apparently, extinct. Except no. South India, around the year 850. 3 old Tamil dynasties have been slapping each other for centuries. The Cheras in the west, whose symbol is a bow. The Pandyas in the south, whose symbol is 2 fish. And our tiger, the Cholas, currently unemployed. Everyone down here actually works for the big regional bosses up north, the Pallavas. Remember that name for about 4 minutes. Enter a minor warlord named Vijayalaya. Job title: small-time chief working for the Pallavas. While his bosses are busy fighting the Pandyas, Vijayalaya quietly grabs a town nobody is watching. That town is Thanjavur. It will become the capital of one of the greatest empires in Indian history. He basically got it on clearance.
I have one fort. It is a very good fort.
That is it. That is the whole founding. A guy and a fort, around the year 850. The tiger is back, baby. At the smallest possible scale.
Son, I built us a kingdom the size of one city. Whatever you do not lose it.
What if I made it bigger? This is his son, Aditya I, nicknamed Rama of the Bow because subtlety was never a Chola value. Aditya has a plan, and the plan is gloriously petty. Step 1. Keep loyally working for the Pallava bosses.
King Aparajita, proud to fight at your side, my lord. Truly, your most loyal vassal.
Good man, Aditya. Loyalty like yours is so rare these days.
Step 2. And I cannot stress how much this is the entire Chola personality. Wait until the boss is weak. Then stab him. Around the year 897, Aditya turns on Aparajita, the last great Pallava king, and finishes him.
You said you were loyal.
I was, past tense.
And just like that, the Cholas swallow their old bosses whole, vassal to top dog, in 2 generations. Which brings us to Aditya's son, Parantaka I, who reigns for 48 years and conquers like it is a relaxing hobby. He marches south, takes the Pandya capital Madurai, and immediately gives himself a brand new title.
Henceforth, I shall be known as the capturer of Madurai.
This is the other core Chola trait, naming yourself after the thing you just conquered. Keep score. It gets aggressively literal later. Parantaka is also weirdly into paperwork. His villages run local councils, with members chosen by drawing names out of a pot. Modern brochures love to call this the world's oldest democracy.
To vote, you simply had to be a land-owning Brahmin man of the correct age who passed an exam.
So, democracy for roughly 11 guys. But genuinely sophisticated record-keeping for the year 920. The Cholas love a record. Hold that thought too. Then Parantaka gets greedy. He reaches for Sri Lanka, can't hold it. And up north, a much scarier predator has noticed the little cat. His name is Krishna III, Emperor of the Rashtrakutas. And he is everything the Cholas are not yet. An actual superpower.
A jumped-up little river kingdom with a cat on its flag. Adorable.
In the year 949, the 2 armies meet at a place called Takkolam. Leading the Chola charge, up on his war elephant where absolutely everyone can see him, is the crown prince, Parantaka's son, Rajaditya. Being the single most visible man on a battlefield is wonderful for morale. It is terrible for life expectancy. An arrow finds him. The crown prince of the Cholas dies right there, on top of his elephant. The Cholas lose the battle, the prince, and most of their kingdom in a single afternoon.
I outlived my own heir. I conquered half the south, and I could not save my son.
And remember those words. Died on his elephant. Horribly, a century from now, it happens to this family again. After Takkolam, the lights basically go out on the Cholas for 30 years. Historians literally call this stretch the obscure period, a run of short, forgettable reigns. The tiger isn't dead, but it is wheezing, Then a king called Sundara Chola starts clawing it back, helped by his absolute unit of a teenage son.
Father, years ago a Pandya king took a Chola king's head. I'm going to find the Pandyas and return the favor, personally.
You are 16 years old.
17. Old enough.
This is Aditya Karikalan, and he actually does it. He hunts down the Pandya king Veera Pandya and defeats him.
You are a child!
A child who took your crown and your head.
He then titles himself the one who took Veera Pandya's head. Once again, the Cholas name themselves after the receipts. Aditya Karikalan is now the obvious next emperor. Young, brilliant, terrifying. And that is exactly where it all goes dark. Around the year 971, the Golden Crown Prince is assassinated. A Chola stone inscription even names the men whose lands were seized for the crime. But the one thing it never tells us is who ordered it. 1,000 years later, we still do not know. It is the most famous unsolved murder in South Indian history. If this sounds like a hit movie, it is. Ponniyin Selvan. Beautiful films. Just know the femme fatale and the master conspiracy are invented. The real case is still wide open. With the golden heir gone, the throne does not go to Sundara's younger son. It slides sideways to an older cousin named Uttama.
I am the senior branch. It is my turn, finally.
And the younger son, a quiet, frighteningly capable prince called Arulmozhivarman, apparently just lets his uncle go first. Or so says the official story, which was written down later by people who worked for Arulmozhivarman. Take it with 1 grain of salt, maybe 2.
Patience, brother. Let uncle have his years. Then the throne comes home. To you.
That is his elder sister, Kundavai. The movies make her a master spy, pulling every string in the kingdom. History makes her something rarer, a princess so respected that her name is carved into the great temple right beside the emperor's own. Either way, she is right. In the year 985, Uttama dies, and the throne finally lands on the one man who will change everything. Arulmozhivarman takes the throne, and a new name. A subtle, modest, understated name. Rajaraja. It means King of Kings. He is not going to be a problem at all.
Sister, they wrote us off after Takkolam. Let us go remind everyone whose flag wears the tiger.
And then Rajaraja the Great does something genuinely great. He builds a machine, a real army, a real navy, and a tax department that actually works. He surveys the entire kingdom, measures every single field, and records exactly who owes what. Because war, it turns out, runs on spreadsheets. Then he points the machine outward. Everybody on that old scoreboard is about to get a visit. The Cheras, with their cute little bow. By most accounts, he smashes them at a coastal port called Kandalur. Tiger 1, Bow 0. The Pandyas and their 2 fish? Crushed. He takes the title Thunderbolt to the Pandyas. Because of course he does. He even sends ships out to grab a whole chain of islands in the open ocean. The records proudly brag about 12,000 of them. There were not 12,000 islands. Chola scribes were enthusiastic. But the point stands. The little river kingdom now has a navy, and then he aims that navy at Sri Lanka. Around the year 993, a Chola army storms the island's ancient capital, Anuradhapura. This part is not a joke. They sack a city that had stood for over 1,000 years, loot its monasteries, and seize the north of the island.
14 centuries of kings stood before me, and it ends like this.
The island's last great king is driven out. He ends his days a Chola prisoner. This was ambition, and it had a real human cost. We are going to let that sit, exactly as heavy as it was, before we move on. Back home, Rajaraja takes all that loot and all that tax money and answers a near-death story in the most Chola way imaginable. He builds the tallest temple on earth, the Brihadishwara temple at Thanjavur, a mountain of grey granite, a tower over 200 feet high, crowned with an 80-ton block of stone, finished around the year 1010. For 1,000 years, it was the biggest flex in South India. It is still standing today. Your apartment will not be. And then, because this man is physically incapable of not keeping records, he has every donation to the temple carved into its walls.
My king, I have carved the gold, the lamps, the 400 temple dancers, the cows, the goats.
Good. Now add the goats' names.
The goats have names?
This is genuinely why we know so much about the Cholas. They basically invented the humble brag and then chiseled it into granite for all eternity. And one more thing about Rajaraja, and it matters. He was a devoted worshipper of Shiva. But he also paid to build a Buddhist monastery for foreign traders. The simple Hindu warrior against everyone else version you sometimes hear today? The actual king literally funded the other faith's temple. He was playing a much longer game. He dies in 1014, having turned a wheezing river kingdom into a superpower. And then his son looks at all of it and says, cute, Rajendra the First. If Rajaraja built the machine, Rajendra takes it on a world tour.
My father conquered the south. Boring. I want a river, a specific river, the holy one, up north.
So he marches an army nearly 1,000 miles to the Ganges, beats everyone in his way, and has his soldiers carry the holy Ganges water all the way back home. Defeated kings, the records claim, hauled pots of holy water south on their heads to fill his enormous new royal lake.
And from this day I shall call myself the Chola who brought the Ganga.
He then builds a whole new capital city and names it after the same flex. This man bought a vanity license plate the size of a city. But the title and the Ganga stunt, that was only the warm-up. Because now Rajendra looks out at the open ocean and has an idea nobody else in India is having. Out across the Bay of Bengal sits Srivijaya, a fabulously rich empire of islands that controls the sea route to China. They are rich, they are far away, and they have been quietly choking Chola trade. So Rajendra decides to do the genuinely unthinkable. Around the year 1025, he loads an entire army, war elephants included, onto ships and sails them across the open sea to attack. Nobody did this. Indian empires were land powers. You did not put a war elephant on a boat and aim it at Sumatra. He did exactly that. The fleet sacks port after port and captures the Srivijaya king himself.
You are a land king from a river. How are you even here?
We built a navy. You weren't paying attention.
Now let us be accurate, because the hype around this gets a little silly. This was a lightning raid, not a forever conquest. He smashed them and sailed home. He did not rule Southeast Asia. And it probably wasn't some vast purpose-built war fleet either. More likely, a whole lot of merchant ships, drafted for one absolutely insane mission. But a land empire crossing an ocean to mug a sea empire is still one of the wildest things any Indian king ever pulled off. The navy nobody saw coming. This is the very top of the mountain. The Cholas now touch the Ganges in the north and Sumatra in the east. And Rajendra's royal seal says it all. His tiger sitting proudly on top of the Pandya fish, the Chera bow, and his rival's boar. Every enemy's logo, collected like trophies. It is a medieval I beat all of you sticker. On official government paperwork, Tamil merchant guilds set up shop across Southeast Asia. Ships heavy with spices and gold sail between Thanjavur and China. For one shining century, the Bay of Bengal is basically a Chola lake. The little cat from the clearance sale fort now runs the ocean. So how do you possibly lose all of that? The exact same way you got it, by never, ever stopping the wars. The next kings spent 100 years grinding against their old rivals, the Western Chalukyas, over the same patch of frontier. Forever. And here is that callback I promised you. Rajaraja's grandson, King Rajaraja, leads from the very front, up on his war elephant, and at the Battle of Koppam, an arrow finds him too. The second Chola king to die on his elephant. They even gave him the exact same title as the prince who fell at Takkolam. The Cholas were nothing if not consistent. But watch his brother. With the king dead and the line breaking, he grabs the crown, jams it onto his own head in the middle of the battle, rallies the men, and wins anyway.
The king is dead. Long live the king. It is me. Right now. Keep fighting.
Even their enemies had style. The great Chalukya king Someshwara, sick and refusing to be beaten by a mere fever, walks into a holy river one last time and does not walk back out. These people did not do quiet retirements. But you can only run an empire on war for so long. Around the year 1070, the direct royal bloodline simply runs out of men. The throne passes to an outsider, a prince who is half Chola, half Chalukya, Kulottunga.
New management. First policy. I am abolishing the tolls. You may all call me the king who cut your taxes.
He gives the empire one last long, calm, prosperous reign. The greatest hits on a farewell tour. But the cracks are spreading. Sri Lanka throws the Cholas out. The far provinces quietly drift away. And slowly, over the next 2 centuries, the tiger that conquered an ocean shrinks back toward the one little river it started on. The old enemies, the Pandyas, with their 2 little fish, finally revive. And this time, they start winning. By the end, a Chola emperor is a small client king, taking orders from the very neighbors his ancestors once crushed. In the year 1279, the last Chola quietly loses the last of it. And here is the strange, sad part. There is no final battle, no blaze of glory, no heroic last stand. The empire that conquered the sea does not get killed. It just stops getting invited. The tiger that came back from the dead, that outlasted everyone, that crossed an ocean nobody believed it could cross, finally, after more than 400 years, lay down.
Except that 200-foot temple Rajaraja built just to brag?
1,000 years later, people still pray in it, every single day. The flex became a home. Those smug receipts he carved into stone? They are the reason we can tell you any of this at all. The humble brag became history. And the dead king himself? Right now, in modern Tamil Nadu, rival politicians are fighting over who gets to claim him.
1,000 years on, people are still arguing about whose tiger he really is.
Turns out, this one really does not stay dead.